All right, welcome to day 9 of 60 days to automate. Really appreciate that. So today we're going to be talking about automating your file management. So we're going to be diving into how to use Make and N8N to connect to your Google Drive and your Microsoft files. We're also going to be talking about how you can analyze the documents so that you can sort them, tag them, label them, and then start to create your own data warehouse in a tool called Airtable, which we went over yesterday to do tasks. All right. So just to recap, this week we automated our email so that we could create thank yous and just get a summary of our email and create drafts. We've automated our calendar. Yesterday we learned how we could take photos and create tasks just from the photos. Today we're going to be talking about the automation of file management. So yeah, the goal of this one is to just really kind of over the essentials. We're going to do a much more advanced one later on, but today we're going to get everything connected. We're going to go through a few different use cases. But before going to what we're going to be doing today, I want to talk about why and some of the benefits that you'll get. So one, centralized file management. I don't know about you, but I have files across lots of different cloud providers, my local machine everywhere. So how can I use AI to kind of create one centralized place that I can look for all of my different files and get access to them quickly? Also, once you have it in a centralized place, you can get huge insights from your data when you start connecting the dots. When I was at Optimizely, one of the biggest insights that we got was when we started to connect the Help Center data that we had on the Help Center and the learning management to the marketing. So that way we could refine our marketing message. It also helped us to then feed that into product development. So when you started centralizing and creating that central data warehouse, you can really get interesting insights across your organization or just personally. And then also too, once you've created this shared knowledge base and everything's tagged and labeled and organized, it makes just sharing this knowledge with outside individuals. So for instance, creating a knowledge base for information about your business, what you sell, what services you have, and also being able to just collaborate with everyone and being able to collaborate a lot easier. So the very first one we're going to do is a pretty simple one. So we're going to do a file sync between Microsoft and Google. And this is just going to show how we can set up the connections for the two and then sync files between the two. All right, let's jump in. So right now in Google Drive, I have let's see here. All right. So we have the files in here, and some of these, some files on day one and connected it to our drive when we used the form. And that's where we had this digital at scale demo responses and the form. So we already have a few files here. And if we look into our Microsoft, we don't have those same files. We just have a few. And maybe I wanted to create a Dropbox for whatever reason to keep certain files synced between the two. Well, that's what we're going to do. So first, what I want to do is I want to create a drop folder. So you could set it up to do all of them, but you probably don't want to create, but if you don't want to sync your entire drive, we're going to create a folder. So I'm going to go over here and say new folder. I'm going to say Microsoft Dropbox, or you could use Dropbox to keep them between. It's kind of like a little cloud Dropbox here, I guess. So we have this Microsoft Dropbox here. So we have this and we have the different pieces. We have this, and then we also have some transcripts as well. So what we're going to be doing is taking some files, and when we drop it in here, we want it to then show up in a new folder here. So we're going to go ahead and say create new. In here, we're given lots of different areas. Let's see, where's the folder option in here? Looks like they have tags. And they do have the location, cloud and attachments. So like I said, I am a Google person and let's go here we go. File, add new folder. All right, we're learning together here. All right, so we're gonna create a folder called Google Dropbox. And we're gonna go ahead and create that folder. Why did it not show up? There it is. All right, we have Google Dropbox. And what we wanna do is when files are put into the Google Dropbox, that it then syncs it. And really this is just to show so that we can connect it between the different platforms for this. So I'm going to go into N8N first, and I'm just going to add a workflow. And I'm going to say day 9, automating your files. All right. And we're going to create one, and here we are going to, and this is where you can have it trigger on at a specific time when something else calls it. But for this case, we're going to just go ahead and have it trigger manually. So when I click on this, so I can test it. And what I wanted to do is then go into my Google Drive. So I'm going to click here, and I am going to have it get search files and folders. So we have our Google Drive account here. I'm going to be getting files. So I want to search, and the search method is I want to search within a file or folder name. And here I'm going to put in, let's do this first, Microsoft Dropbox. Okay. So we did that one. Now this isn't so we did find the folder. So that's one way we can do it. We can search for it. Another way that we can do it is we can actually just, here we go. Yep, here it is. All right, so we can, if we add a search query here, is just go in folder and we can choose the folder from the list. So in this case, I'm just going to choose it. So here, let's say interesting. Oh, because I'm looking for file. There's nothing in my file right now. Okay, so we've actually gone in here and done this. So it's searching in there. We don't have any files in there. So let's put some files in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few files in here. And what I'm going to put in here are transcripts from the past, from the first 5 days. So I'm just going to go in here and create a document. I'm going to just copy it over here from my transcript. And this is 2024. All right, so we're just adding some files in here. One other way that we can do it as well is we can just add the different files. But for this, I'm just adding one transcript, and we'll add some new files in here as we go for when we start getting into the analysis. But now we have one file for the day 1 transcript. Let's rename that to day 1. All right, so now we have this in here. So now let's go back to N8N, and we can just go over here and say test step. Now we have one item. So the name is transcript day 1 and the ID. We're just given the name and the ID. This will limit it to 50. So if you have more than 50 files in there, it will limit it. If you do want to return all, you can do that as well. Just depends on how long you want. You'd also have some other folders too. So for instance, in a particular drive, what to search, and you can also include things that are in your trash. Maybe clean out your trash can a little bit too. All right. So now that we have our automation that is getting our drive, now we want to get the contents of the folder and move it over to our Microsoft Drive. So to do that, what I'm going to do is first we're going to go and we're going to see, is it document? Not Google Doc, Word. So let's go into OneDrive. So we'll copy the file, create a folder. Yes, this should have everything we need. I know that with Google Drive, there is the ability to create a doc or create a spreadsheet. So we'll go on this. So we're going to upload a file. So here we have not set up our Microsoft OneDrive credentials yet. So that's going to be the first thing that we do before we get into this. We've already set them up for Drive. We haven't gone over how to set this up for Microsoft yet. So let's do that. So if we click in here and go in, we can say connect my account. And what this is doing is I'm going to connect the digital at scale demo one, and I'm going to accept. All right, we're now connected. That was pretty simple. So now what we can do is we can come in here and we can now say we want to create a file and we want to upload it. And here's the file name, and we can give it a parent ID. So this is the ID that will contain the file. So let's first, before we get into the parent, let's just do a hello world and see if we can get this file over here to here. And for this, I know we don't have the content in here yet, but what I'm going to do is just go in and give it the file name, and I'm going to give it the ID for the file content, just so that it creates. It looks like the ID of the parent folder that will contain the file. Interesting. All right. Well, I guess it is required. So we'll click in here and we'll click on details. Great. So now we're going to play the game of what's the ID of this folder. So typically, so for instance, with Google, when you're finding the ID of a particular file or folder, it's always the ID up here at the top. It's this ID, it's /D, and then this ID right here, edit. Now, it looks like when you go into these, Google, or it looks like Microsoft doesn't have this. So we're going to copy this link. And my guess is in this copy, in this deep link, that this is the ID, but we'll see. So this EQXY, let's copy it over to the question mark, because question marks and URLs are usually not IDs sometimes, but we'll start there. This is a game. One thing with automation is you kind of got to reverse the web work sometimes to get good ones. Why they don't allow you to get it, there is another way we could actually get it. Actually, let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to we're going to say get items. Let's see. That is actually what we'll want to get when we bring it back. But so I'm going to, interesting. How do I get the main folder ID? All right, let's try it. Let's try that ID. So I'm putting this in here. This supposedly is the folder. Let's see what happens. Bad request. Invalid resource ID. How do you get the resource ID? Let me do just one little quick. Oh really? When they try to do this. Let's see here. Details. Should it be in the details? Activity, more details. Path. Copy direct link. Give me the ID of this folder, Microsoft. I'm starting to realize why I've been using Google for so long as I'm going into this Microsoft. So maybe this is the full path of SharePoint. Oh boy. Let's see if there's a way to get all of the folder names in here real quick. Maybe. So it says search a folder, but we're still going to need to have what that item is. The problem is that it is holding this back, and from what I can tell, find the folder ID and the URL by searching it. You can use this, select resources, folder, operations, search, in the query, enter the folder name. Got it. All right, so fun stuff. We're going to just search for it. So search, what is it? Resource, folder, select operations, search. We'll try this one. Folder and search. Let's say Google. Resource folder. Is that what I named it? Yep, there it is. Just see if I test it with nothing. Search is empty. Let's see if this is finding any of my files. OneDrive, connected. I'm seeing files. Documents, apps. Nope. Oh, wait. Interesting. So when I created that, it did not do it in there. All right. Fine. Add new Word document. Let's see if this, come on. All right. I'm sorry, but Microsoft, you're just completely not winning this competition. I will tell you that right now. I know exactly why I do not use you. All right, we have a transcript in here. Now will it search and find it? The only thing that I think of is that this isn't connected to the right account. Let's try reconnecting. I am choosing my digital at scale demo, which is the one that I am currently. Oh, interesting. Let's go back in here. Bradley at digital at scale. Got it. All right. That is why that did not work. All right. So let's connect it to the correct account. So we're going to reconnect this. We're going to log in with this. All right. Now, here we go. Lesson learned. Make sure that your credentials are connected to the account that you're actually working in. All right. So now that we can verify that it's connected, we're going to go back to folder. We're going to say Google. We're going to test that step. So we can get the folder ID, which was the whole reason that we came down this path. There it is. We now have the folder ID. Great. That was annoying. All right, next. So we want to upload this file. We're going to say we want to upload it to here. So what I'm going to do is, so we just have the one, and we're going to just, now that we have that, we don't really need it. So what this should do is, if it works correct, is it should create a file named whatever this file is named, and then just put the ID in as the file content. We'll go over how to get the file content here in just a minute, but for right now, we just want to test this to make sure that it's working. So I'm going to click on this, or hit test workflow. There we go. Boom. All right, so it looks like all of these worked. It looks like it did actually create it. So now if we go into Microsoft OneDrive, look at that. We now have this transcript day one, and it looks like I can download it. So that's how we can now, so now if I put in another document, so let's say I go in and I put in let's add a new document. File, new, docs, transcript, and, ooh, don't want to put it in the title. All right, much quicker in Google Docs. All right, we now have two. So now when we run this should create two files. So let's go to test workflow. It's going through 2 items. We now have 2 items. Great. We now have a system where we're now connecting it to the different items, to the different drives between Google and OneDrive. But moving things is just one of the pieces. What if we want to actually do something with that? So in our next use case that we're going to go over is how to do some basic file analysis. So we know that the file is going over there, at least we have the proof of concept because it just has the ID. But now how do we get the information that's in that document, and not just get it, but actually use AI to do some analysis on what type of document this is, and and then eventually go in there and start tagging them. So how do we get information about this document? So what we're going to do is we're going to go here and we're going to add another option. We're going to go here, hit plus, and we are going to say for Google Docs, we're going to say get Drive, not Google Docs. So here we have a lot of different things. Now, for the purposes of the rest of this, so I don't have to go between the two, I'm going to be doing primarily in Google Drive with N8N. Now, how do you, now if we go in here and actually before I continue on, let's go into make.com and set up this exact same one just so that it is there. All right. So I'm going to create a new scenario in here and I'm going to create it and I'm going to connect the same thing. So for this, we're going to get the Google Drive and the Microsoft OneDrive. So we just go in and we select Drive. We're going to watch for files in a folder. We could search for files within a folder, things like that. So let's do that. It's the same way we're doing it on the other one. We are going to connect our thing. It's asking for additional permissions. So when you actually connect your Make account, it only asks for the permissions that you need. So we only connected this to our Gmail, so it didn't give it access to the drive yet. So now I have access to this. I can now go in and I can say I want to select it from the list. I can choose my folder, Microsoft Dropbox. And here I can say I want to retrieve files and folders. And for this case, I'm just going to say files and I'm going to say OK. So if I hit run, as we can see here, we've now ran it and we have an output. We have bundle 1 and we have bundle 2. And this gives us a lot of information about the information about the file. Now, what did we do in 8N? We then took those and we created it in OneDrive. So let's do that. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to say OneDrive and we're going to say upload a file. I'm going to create a connection and I'm going to save. Yep. So this is opening up. I'm going to log in with my with the right one this time and go ahead and hit accept. Easy peasy. So go in here and we're going to choose the folder location ID, which we already know now. We're going to update it to my drive. You can choose different drives if you had, so like groups or sites. Same thing with Google Drive. And we're going to choose the folder and we're going to say Google Dropbox. And there's a few more things here. So for instance, what's the file name? And we get that information from, as we click in here, we're just going to take the same file name, which is, if I scroll down here, where is that file name? Oh, here it is, name. And then data, once again, I'm just going to put the web view link, so the link to the Google Drive. Once again, we're going to go over how you actually get the data from these files instead of, if you notice, it doesn't have the content in it, it just has the information about the file, like its location, its name, a few details about what the type it is, things like that. And we hit OK. And now we're going to, well, let's go over and clear out our OneDrive so that we can see this working. We're going to delete these, delete. Okay. Now we're going here and say run once, and we're running it. We got it. And it's now getting one file, and now it's uploaded 2 files. And now if we go back over here, we can see them back in here from just a few seconds ago. So now we have this working in both Make and in. The rest of this I am going to use in 8N for the rest of them, but as you can see, they're pretty similar. They do have slight variances. If you want me to do a full video on either of these using Make, let me know. But for the rest of this, I'm going to use in 8N. So how do we actually get it to do basic file analysis? So we're going to add another one right here, and we are going to look for Drive. And we're going to say on this one, we want to use this download file. And what that means is it's going to download, not to your own machine, well, unless you're running it locally, it's going to download the contents of that file. That's the part that you want to use to then add that to the other or do some other analysis. So for that, we're going to go in and we're just going to say, hey, we're going to here, we want a file, we want to download this. And here we can choose a file from a list, but we don't want that. We want the file that's actually been given to us. So we're actually going to just drag this ID over to here and choose by ID. So you can choose from list, URL. So if you always wanted it to download, but usually you want it to grab information, get that ID and drag that over here. So now when I say test step, what this is doing is it's grabbing all of the content that is in that item. And you can see that it got it. It's a file extension. If I go here and hit download, I literally can just download this this item, open it up in files. So you can actually see that working right there. But we don't want to download it. We want to upload it to our OneDrive. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to just go, now that we have the data, we go back into our OneDrive and we can just replace the file contents with, I always this one. So we want, yeah, here we go. No, how do we get this? I think that it's just data from the last one. No, nope, that's not it. Oh, binary file, duh. There's a toggle there. Look right in front of you, Brad. All right. So now that we have this, what it should do, let's go ahead and let's delete all of these so that we can see this. And let's go in and we have this, which is transcript. Let's rename this to day 2. Okay. And over here. So now let's save this and hey, N8N, fix that bug on the... All right, so we got that. So we're going to go ahead and test this workflow. So it's going to go and it's going to grab all the files that are in that folder. It's then going to download the contents of those files and then upload them to OneDrive if this all works. So it's grabbed 2 files, it's getting the contents of them, and it looks like it is uploading them. So now, if I go into OneDrive, there they are. And look at that. So we have document and transcript there. Let's go to my file. Yeah, here we go. So as we can see now, we have the file size of 60 kilobytes or 70 kilobytes. And when I click on this, I still get this though. I can't really see it. This is why, so when you're just taking files from one area to one area, if I download this and get it, so if I just download this, it doesn't have it, but if I then open it up and, it'll just text file here. So what we want to do if we wanted to actually see this as it is, so we can view it in here, we have to do one more thing, which is before we do that, we're going to add one and we're going to say, is it docs? You have the ability on this one to do, let's see about make, let's see. All right, so we're going to go here. Same thing for when we're doing this in make. Is that we go in here and we have to add an additional thing. So we are going to use Google Drive and download a file. So here we're going to use the file ID from the previous one and we're going to run this. So as we can see here, it did the same thing. And if we go over to OneDrive, let's see, does it actually? I really don't like that about it. So it actually overwrote it with 97 bytes. As you can see, it overwrote the exact same file with that because we told it to. So it's not creating duplicate files. So now that we go in here, let's check this to see, because this just may be a limitation of, let's see, doc, Word, Microsoft Word templates, things like that. So maybe moving between cloud provider to cloud, getting those, you're just going to be able to move the actual files that you can download. So for the rest of this, what we're going to do is we're going to leave this for that basic sync. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and make a new one. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to actually analyze this content. We don't want it to just, and I'm going to move this trigger down here. So this is the one to just move it over to Microsoft. And what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to actually want to analyze this and put a summary of the document in Airtable. And the reason you want to do that is because this is how you're going to start centralizing a place. It isn't necessarily centralizing all of your documents in just OneDrive. You'd be surprised how many people actually have both of these and how many customers I've worked with that has multiple apps. So this is going to be how we centralize our data. If you have thousands of documents, Later on in the course, we're going to be talking about how to hook this up to a real database. But for the purposes of today, we're just going to be hooking it up to Airtable. So that you can have a centralized place for all your documents that have summaries of them for easy retrieval. So how do we do that? Well, now that we have the file and we have this information, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an LLM chain. So we click on this. So we've created a lot of these this week about where we use data from one node, create a prompt that will have it analyze it, summarize it, do something with it, and then send it off in a structured format to other systems or other nodes. And that's what we're going to do here. So in this case, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a basic summary and a tag based off of the type of document that it is, so that we can start to organize our transcripts versus our financial data versus our company, maybe a customer knowledge base, and do it automatically so that we don't have to do that manually if you're not as good about organizing your documents as I am. So we're going to take data from, we're going to say define below, and we're going to go expression. So every time we start this LLM chain, we want to define our own prompt instead of just taking it automatically. And we want to click this expression to use this. So I'm just going to do a basic one. I want you to analyze this document and create a short 1-paragraph summary of its contents and why it's important to me. Now, there's on this prompt, I know that. So when you're writing this prompt, when you get it into your own, you'll want to say, what does a good summary mean for you? Maybe you want to, and this depends on what kind of content you're wanting to analyze, right? So if you're going through for instance, I had 4 years worth of video diaries to go through. I went through and organized them and organized topics and different things that were discussed in each of my video diaries, and hooked a chatbot up to it so I could easily go back to any moment of my diaries. So that had a different summary of what I had than when I hooked this up to my customer support, documents and things there for completely things. So I'm just going to say create a summary just so we have something in there, but then why it's important to me, right? So you got to tell it, like, what are the things you're really looking for in that summary, and why, just so that at glance you'd be like, oh, hey, this is and this is why it matters in a particular thing, whether it's you looking for it or eventually what we'll learn tomorrow, your Chief Sidekick, which we're going to be bringing together all of the email, calendar, and everything that we did over the last 4 days into one Chief Sidekick. So we're going to just go in here and we're going to say contents. All right. So now we have this. As you remember, whenever we're putting context instead of instructions, we put this in these little brackets here for that information. All right. Here we have the contents, and we're going to take, because this has not been executed, we don't have anything in there. So create 1-paragraph summary of its contents and why it's important to me. So we're just going to first start with this, which is just it's analyzing it and creating a summary. But before I do that, I need to run this so that we have some information to be able to use. So we're going to save this. We have this. We need to add our model. So once again, I'm just going to use OpenAI. And we're going to use 4.0 Mini for this. 4.0 Mini is great for testing, especially. It's great for a lot of things, especially tagging or short summarizations like this. Don't really require a lot of complex logic. Like, hey, can you just summarize for me? So we're going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to get rid of this chat. We don't need it. And I think it duplicated that old one. All right, we're going to save here. So now, instead of just uploading it here, to get the files, we're going to download the files, and then we're going to summarize them. So let's test that workflow. So click on test, It's grabbing it, grabbed a second one. Now it's probably going to just make some things up here actually because we didn't give it any content. Let's see what it did. It looks like there are no contents provided for me to analyze. Seems the contents are missing. Great, at least it didn't make something up. Sometimes it will just, here's the story of Little Red Riding Hood or something. It's even though nothing in there. But that's another reason why too, putting these brackets around here, because it lets it know that, hey, if this is empty, it gives it a clue of like, hey, I don't think there's supposed to be something there. So a lot less likely when your automation fails to hallucinate something. Another good reason to put these brackets around here. So now that we've done that, we want to go through and grab this content. But before we do that, there's something that we need to do to this binary. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to add a node here so convert JSON data to binary, but we're going to actually convert binary to JSON here. And we're going to be extracting this information. And this is where you have different types. Are you extracting CSV or an HTML file or a JSON file, which we've used some for, PDFs, real text formats. So any kind of base 64, which is actually used for images. So there's a lot of things that you can use to basically move this file or whatever this binary is into something that can be used in future nodes. So that's what we need here is we're going to extract from a text file and we're just going to use this. So we're going to test this step and see if it works. So as we can see here, we have a bunch of, looks like not text files. So this is a bunch of encrypted stuff. So let's see if they have a option for, let's try RTF maybe. Oh man, this bug. All right. So we have search, download this. We're testing this. Let's actually break this real quick so we don't run the LLM, save us on money, and we're going to go ahead and test this workflow. All right, so not in RTF format. So, okay, so it wasn't in that, wasn't in text, which when we do text, no. Interesting. So it won't work on any of these. So it looks like we're going to have to do something here. So before we do that, it looks like we're probably going to have to convert it using Drive, which would be, let me actually see if document to text. Here we go. Forgot about this one. So basically there is a Google file conversion. So basically it's saying here, do you want to convert a Google Doc to an HTML? And you're given different options. So in this case, we're going to convert it to text. So do you want to convert drawings? And this gives you a few different options. So forgot about that step. So going in here, when you download this, just choose the options for Google file conversion and it'll automatically download. So this one should then actually give us our, let's go back to text and go here. And that's why we do it live, so that I run into the same issues that you'll probably run into when setting this up. So as you can see here, it has given us the text of the file. So now this is what we can now send into our LLM chain, which just be added right there. So now it looks like I want to analyze this document. We can see that it's going to put the text of the document in there and say why it's important to me. And we're going to test this step to see what it comes back with. Give it a minute. All right. So we have this one. The document appears to be a transcript of an introductory session for a 60-day challenge aimed at teaching participants how to automate various processes using AI. Correct. And then day 2, so we have the 2 different where we went over the California Voter Guidebook using a PDF. Excellent. So we have this nice little summary of the document and kind of it says, and then let's see what it said for important. This content is important to you as it provides a practical framework for developing tools that enhance voter engagement and understanding, allowing you to make more informed decisions based on accurate and accessible information about the voting process. Excellent. Cool. So we have our basic analysis done. So now the next thing that we want to do is we want to, now that we have this analysis done, is now we're going to store this and we're going to have it not just do the analysis, but tag these documents. So that I can start organizing them inside of Airtable. So to do that, we first need to go into our Airtable from yesterday and set up a new table. So if you remember, we had our table from yesterday, which was customer CRM. And I'm just going to I'm going to name this business one of these sessions, but for now, I'm just going to say my business. Because we're going to be using this base a lot for a lot of our different pieces. So we're going to add a brand new table here. So add new table. And we're going to start from scratch. And we're going to say our document, I'm just going to call it documents. I'm not going to get clever with the names. All right, so here we're going to give it, and we're going to say, we're going to give it this, which is kind of the key and the primary piece for the table. So as you can see here, this is the table's primary field. The name is meant to be a short, unique representation of each record in your table. And what I like to use for this, especially in Google Docs, not so much in Microsoft because it doesn't look like they might have the share link, but I like to use the URL because we know that a URL is always going to be unique for that document. So we're going to be using that. So we're going to say doc URL. And then I'm going to add another one over here. I'm going to say file name. And we're just going to give it a single line of text. And I'm going to change this notes. I'm going to say summary. And we're going to remove this field. We don't really have users synced up between. If you had them synced up between your Google business account and your Airtable, you could then say who's the owner, maybe something like that. But for this, we're not going to be doing that. And for our tagging, instead of doing status, we're actually going to use type of document. And I'm going to say a transcript, invoice, and knowledge. All right. I hate you, Google. Yep. All right. So now we have this. So this is the type of document that we want. But then I also want to just have kind of a word cloud of tags, just so that I can start really, just analyzing my document so I can see if there's any patterns or anything in there. So for this, there is the multi-select where you can select one or more predefined options in a list. But for this, I don't want it to have predefined options. For this, I would just want it to just create as many keywords as I want here. Because then, in what we'll see in later sessions, is you go back and you can then say, hey, analyze all my documents and give me keywords. But then you can analyze all the different, just those tags and those tag clouds and say, here are kind of the unique ones. Then you can go back through all of your files and say, tag it based off of these specific ones. But for this case, we're just going to have it just throw as many tags out there as possible. So for that, I'm going to use this long text. So I'm going to say tag cloud. I'm going to make this comma separated here. And we're going to create a field. So what this should do is really start to catalog, where my URL is, the file name, a summary of the document and why it's important to me, and the type of document that it is, and then a tag cloud. So how do I hook that up to here? Well, we're going to go in, and so we already have our workflow where it is getting the information from Google, from that folder. We're having it now download that file, extract the information from that file, send it to our LLM, and we're just going to adjust this prompt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want you to create one short paragraph and why it's important to me. Also, categorize it as a transcript. What was our options? Let's open that back up in, so we have transcript, invoice, and knowledge base. So transcript, invoice, or knowledge base. Also, create a comma separated tag cloud of at least 50 terms or keywords that could be used for searching, finding, or analyzing the contents of the document. So essentially what we're doing here is we're saying, hey, analyze it, give me a short summary paragraph. That's going to be for me to know. Then we're saying, okay, categorize it as a transcript, invoice, or a knowledge base. Also create a comma separated tag cloud of at least 50 terms or keywords that could be used for searching, finding, or analyzing the contents of the document. I gave it a little bit of context about what I'm going to be using this for, because we're going to see tomorrow how we're going to use this tag cloud to, with our Sidekick to create really what the Sidekick should be looking for, so that it can take your search terms and have a little bit more context about what's in there besides just the raw contents. It helps search through more documents and have a bigger, more information. So now what we want to do is I'm going to say return your response in JSON. If you remember, we have to add this phrase at the end if we're going to want to use structured content. We're going to want to use structured content because we're going to want the summary in one field. We're going to want the tag of what type of file it is in one field. And we're going to want the comma separated list of keywords and phrases in another field. So we're going to do that in we have to update our LLM chain to say require a specific format. And here for output parser, we're going to say structured output parser, and we're going to say summary, a paragraph summary of the document. For this one, we're going to choose document type. I'm going to say, I'm going to try this, transcript or invoice or knowledge base. Let's see if that works. I was having trouble yesterday with the whole getting it to do only these specific items. In Answer AI, it's like an array, but it was sending an array, which we'll see tomorrow. So let's just see what this looks like. And then the last one is key phrases or keywords. And I'm just going to literally give it its instructions in the way that I want it to. A comma separated list of all key phrases and words used. So adding different commas in here to just kind of like prep it a little bit. Once again, this kind of goes in this is the quote unquote engineering part, just what gives you the most probable outcome. This is still all brand new to a lot of people. So we'll try different things out and then test it and see what works. So for this case, we're going to, what we do know, we're going to get the summary, the document type, and the keywords. These are going to be that, so that we can then use those in our future ones. So now let's make sure, let's save it, and let's go through here. And what this should return is now that same information of these documents that are in here, and we're going to go ahead and test the workflow. So it's going through here. It's analyzing the first transcript. Should have used some shorter pieces of content for this, but your life as an automator is this. Sit there and wait while it completes. Nothing is more fun when you have a like 50 node automation and like node 44 fails. Yeah, that's always fun. All right, so let's see what it got here. So we got summary. This document is a transcript of a video tutorial. Keywords, great. Got this transcript, great. Now that we have this structured piece of content, let's get it into Airtable. And if you followed me from yesterday, you should already be ahead of me because we added tasks to the table. So we're going to go here, we're going to create a record. And in this case, we already have our access token. We're going to create a record. The base is the My Business. The table is our new documents. And now we have our doc URL. So here, we're going to, you know what? We're going to show you a different thing, which is how to rename these. So if I click in here and click on this edit, so this is the one that gets the files from Drive. And this one is downloads the files. That way when I am in here, I can now see it a little bit better. Downloads the files, gets the files from. So the one that I actually want to get in the ID, and these are probably going to be, I mean, they obviously are going to be the same, but I could use the ID from either one of these, but I like to start, I'm going to start naming these so it's a little bit clearer on this. But one of the things that you don't see in here is the URL. Now we could go try to get the file. We could add another node. It's going to add another execution. But if you remember from how you get the ID, I'm going to show you how you can construct an ID too. So with every single one of these files, so if you click on it, as you can see here, this is this. So what it is this ID right here. However, everything before it, this https docs.google.com/document/D, that can be put in front of it. So I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to say that. And this is how you can, so this is the ID actually. I'm going to want this part, which is this. So we put that part, and then here we're going to then take the ID and drag it to here. This says can't determine which ID to use. So I'm going to maybe see if it can determine this one. We'll go over what this means here. Okay, it's probably because it needs to rerun this. It has not been ran yet. We'll see if that's the case. You'll get this error a lot in here, and basically what it means is that when things are looping through multiple items, it has to link back to what the original item was. So in this case, it's going and it's running this LLM chain multiple times. It's running the download multiple times. It needs to know which ID to use. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just leave that there. Hopefully it turns green. We'll debug that later. But here we're going to go in and we're just going to get, well, we're going to put in our summary. We know that. We're going to say the document type. We know that. And we're going to just drag in our keywords for the tag cloud. For right now, I'm just going to say transcript. It looks like we are going to have to get the document anyway to get, oh no, it is right here. Name, duh. All right. As you can see, we're getting that same error there. So I'm assuming that it'll just fix itself. I know that sounds, just trust me. Let's just go and see if that does work. So what this should do is it should go through, grab them, analyze it with AI, and then store it in Airtable. So we go ahead and test this. It's going to run it. It's downloading the files, and we are now analyzing this with a OpenAI. And it doesn't have to be OpenAI. It could be any AI model that you already have hooked up. We've already went through this So it looks like it inserted these into the fields. So if we go into our item, look at that. We now have a link to our Google file. So if I click on this or go to it, I should say, I now can go directly to it. So I can quickly see this. I can get a very summary of what these documents are about. I can now see transcripts versus the TAD cloud. It's telling me what type of document it is. So I can now set this up so that it is now analyzing all of these documents, categorizing them, tagging them in the way that you want, so that tomorrow, when we go through building a basic assistant, you'll see where all of this comes together. So the last 4 days we spent automating our email, getting your calendar, putting events on your calendar, summarizing your calendar. We talked about how you could take pictures and upload them and create tasks, how to create other tasks, and get a summary of all of your different tasks to help stay prioritized. Today, we talked about how to take the files that are in your Google Drive and in your Microsoft OneDrive and start to categorize these, summarize them, so that then tomorrow, your AI bot is going to have the ability to send and summarize your email, work with your calendar, create tasks for you, and help make sense and find all of your documents. And that's just at the end of the first 10 days. So that being said, that's it for today, and I'll open it up for any questions. Good question. So one thing that we did, so the question was, does this work with audio and video files? And the short answer is no. Short answer is yes, but with a little bit more work. The short answer is no, not with what we did today. So essentially what you're going to be doing is when you grab the file, so right here, well, we have about 5 minutes. Let's see if we can actually do this based off of one of the old transcripts. So if you wanted to do that, let's just see if we can do that now that we have this set up. So go over here. I'm going to say new folder, audio, Dropbox. Let's go here. So now we have an audio Dropbox. I do have the transcript from, or the audio file from mine, which is right here. And I'll go over my whole file process and everything like that I've been using for this throughout this course. Let me download this file. Here we go.
All right, let's get started. So,
all right. So we're going to go ahead and add this file into the Dropbox here. So now that we have that, what we can do is we can use OpenAI's technique. So here I'm going to just clone this actually, and because it's going to be analyzing a transcript, so I'm going to remove this and move it down here for easy testing. On this, I'm going to actually choose my other one, which is my audio Dropbox. So if I test this, I can now see I have the one file. So the download the contents of the file, this won't change. This is going to download this, so you can see it's 18 megabytes. If I view this, I can actually see this in here. And then once I have this information, then we're going to want to either extract it like this and convert it into something else. But I believe what we can do is we can take the contents of it and send it directly to OpenAI, and they have this transcribe a recording node. So here you can go in, the resource is audio. It's going to return from the data. You could say, hey, what's the language? You can also add a prompt in this. So let's see if that worked. This might take a minute to actually download into work. It's 88. It's an hour and a half. But while that's executing, it looks like it's actually trying to do it. So you can do audio files up to 25. So if you wanted to do a video, for instance, you first have to extract that audio files. And there's, I believe in Make, I know we use one in Make for a while, but there's also, if you run it locally, you can just use FFmpeg if you're a developer, if you know what that is. But yeah, that's how you'd have to do a little bit of post processing. I don't think there's anything built in to take video from audio. I think it's just audio right now. So yeah, one more bonus automation for the audience there. All right, so no other questions. Really appreciate everyone that building these automations, joining these sessions, and if you found this content valuable, please share it with your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers, anyone who might be excited and interested in AI and automation. And join me tomorrow. We will be building our basic assistant. So. Till then, goodbye.